Oh boy, I'm excited to get started on this. Howdy everyone, and welcome back to the first episode of my Minecraft single-player survival Let's Play series. I've been wanting to get something like this done for a long time now, and just now have had the chance to work on it, so I'm very excited to be able to do so. This is actually my second time attempting to do this. The first world was just really not working out well at all. I kind of lost motivation immediately with it, and just knew that I needed to go and just do a different world to let that one just not be a thing anymore, and I am definitely feeling like I made the right decision immediately. This world already feels so much better than the last one did, and I'm very, very excited to try and make something of this one. This isn't quite the spawn I was hoping for, but I think I can make it work, and it'll be fun at the very least, which sometimes that's all you need. Now, as we start off, I just want to say if the video quality is particularly choppy, is particularly low, or whatever, I do apologize for that. I have attempted to correct everything with the settings, and I'm not sure how successful I have been. It does not particularly want to work with me. I had gotten the issue fixed with the Garden SMP series, which will return eventually. I just don't know exactly when, but it seems to have reverted to whatever it was doing in the past, and is a bit choppy and everything, so hopefully I've gotten it fixed, but if I have, then I will certainly look further into it by next episode, at the very least. Getting some pretty good resources right off the bat. Hopefully I can find some iron pretty quickly, but some coal and some stone immediately accessible without having to dig too far down is absolutely amazing to have. We've got some sheep immediately, so we can get a bed pretty quick as well. Of course, only, there's more than 2 white sheep. So yeah, we can easily get a bed. And come here. There we go. I'll let the other ones live so I can breed them up. Oh, we got a village right over here. This is off to a great start. Now, I doubt this is where I will permanently set up camp, but I think this will be a good spot for starters. You've got some good resources around here, good bit of terrain to do some stuff, and yeah, I think it'll be pretty fun. Also, I hope y'all liked that intro I did. I've been really wanting to experiment with my content creation, try to do some cool stuff, branch out from just the same old boring kind of thing. So I thought I'd try a fun little intro for the episodes in this series, and I think what I have there is pretty nice. Hopefully I can fully edit it to what I really want right now, where I am at the time of recording. It is not fully complete, but I think it'll probably come out pretty good, and I really hope y'all like that, because it was just a fun thing to work on. Ooh, we got some armor immediately, nice. And some bread. Let's see, what do you have to trade? 15 coal for an emerald, 11 emeralds for a not great iron sword. Still, that's pretty good, I'd say. Any more resources to steal? I got a kiwi somewhere. More apples, I'll gladly take that. And more bread. And more trees, I'll leave the flour. Another thing I'm glad about with this series is that I don't have the insane amounts of stress that come from a hardcore world. I don't have to worry about dying and losing everything. I can just play and have fun, which is going to be really nice, because I would play in hardcore, or if you're on my Twitch, y'all should go give that a follow. And it can be very stressful. Right, so that's this village cleared out. I'm going to look around and see if there happens to be anything that I can see around here that is worth moving over to, but If not, I'll probably just set up camp around here. I don't know what kind of cat that is, but it's very cute. I'm going to tame it one day. Is that a shipwreck out there? I think so. I'll have to go out for that. Let's see, I'm not seeing any spruce around here, so the big plan I had for my starter base really relied on there being a lot of spruce around here and on me having a taiga biome to set up in. So I doubt that's going to happen, but I can definitely build around here and make something good out of it. It's just not my original plan. But for now, I'm going to do some mining and try to get some good early game resources before we build a base or anything. Alright, I did a bit of caving and got myself a little, not just a starter base, but a starter area set up here in this villager house. Just got some basic resources, and I have some iron smelting up, and with 3 iron, we can, of course, create our first iron pickaxe, which is basically the most important early game item you can get your hands on, or early game tool, because with that you can, of course, get diamonds. I guess this is your house that I've stolen. It's also your house that I've stolen. And, yeah, with the iron pickaxe, we can actually go and start achieving some big things. And the first of those big things is, of course, the starter base. Obviously, I cannot spend my entire time living in a small corner of this house. I need to actually make a base. Now, my original plan was to make a sort of like Nordic Viking kind of village area, because I've been playing a lot of Valheim recently. I've been having a lot of fun with that and just love the energy of that game. And I really want to bring that into Minecraft, but if you look around, there aren't really any spruce trees around, which spruce would of course be an important... Oh, chicken! Would be an important resource in the creation of a Viking house, and then the taiga biome would of course be perfect to build in, as it, especially with sort of Valheim inspiration, it is sort of a blend between the meadows, which would be more like the forest biome, and then the it's either the dark forest or the black forest. I can't actually remember which, but with that not being around here, that's not really a viable option, so I need to build probably just a more traditional medieval style house. But to figure out exactly how to do that, we need to hop into my creative test world. Alright, here we are in my test world. You can see some projects that will probably never see the light of day anywhere else. Some projects like this right here and this right here, which have appeared in other things I've done. But today, I just want to talk about the block choices for my base, because I'm left with very limited options. The first thing to talk about is wood. We have 2 wood options, birch and oak. And of course, we don't just have the planks, we have the logs, and we have the stripped logs. So that gives us 3 colors for each type of wood, so essentially you've got 6 woods to work with. Obviously this very, very limited usage, but that's 6 woods to work with. We also have another incredibly important starting block, cobblestone. So these 3 blocks right here, these, well yeah, I guess these 3 blocks, or these 7 blocks if you want to get very technical, will play a very important part in the creation of the base. But you can't make a base with just cobblestone, birch, and oak. You can, but I'm a builder. It's going to look boring, and boring is not something you want a build to be. So we need more options. Of course, we've got good wood options. I wish we had spruce, but we don't. But for stone, we can bring in andesite, tuff, and gravel. As you can see, these all blend together fairly well. I will probably mix these 2 together, maybe throw these 2 in as like a floor or a path or something. We also have access to these 2 blocks, which granite may see usage, the diorite most likely will not. And then deep slate and all the variations of that are also readily available. So these blocks right here are what we have sort of immediately available. I do wish we had some spruce. As you can see here, it blends perfectly with oak logs and is just such a wonderful color, but sadly we don't. So what I'm thinking is these 2, cobble and tuff, for the sort of stone bits of the building, this for the wooden rails and everything, the wooden posts, all these things, whatever the term would be for them. These two for the walls, these two for floors, probably oak, just because that's easy. And then maybe a deep slate and granite roof, but we'll see where it goes. The granite may be a chimney or something. Some of these may not be used at all, and we may realize we have other resources available. But these are the immediately available resources that I think we can turn into a pretty good base for starters. And then once we track down some spruce, we can bring it in and make something really nice for later usage. So now you have, of course, seen some of my plans, but we can't just go and start building. We need to do some resource gathering. So I'm going to take some time tonight and head over to, there's a big cave way over there. I'm going to head in there and just get some basic, I suppose, surface resources, if you will. And then probably tomorrow on stream, which will, of course, be much later for y'all because this video will take a little while to get out, I'm going to go and do some resource gathering as well. And I believe I already mentioned my Twitch, but if y'all want to join in on this world and some of my other projects live, then head over there and drop a follow. But I will see y'all once we have some resources and can build a base. Alrighty, it is a few days later, and on stream we had a lot of success getting some resources. We got way too much tuff, a decent amount of cobble, some deep slate, and some gravel, all of which can be used, along with all of this andesite and granite, and probably about half of the wood that we have in here. The other half I gathered when I was chopping down my very large tree farming operation that I had right here. Beyond that, if we head back into my tiny little base here, it did get blown up by a creeper on stream, and I had to repair it. We also lost a couple villagers. Oh, there's a child. We did find some diamonds. I'll let y'all watch the stream clips of me finding those real quick. Alright everyone, this is something very exciting. We're currently on stream, hence the webcam and everything, and we found our first diamonds. So, I'm going to mine this out and see how many we get. I did not actually expect to find any diamonds, but we found a crazy large cave, which I will show y'all in a moment. And we have 1 diamond. Still, 1 diamond is much better than none diamond, and I will bring y'all back in if we find any more. Alright, it's been a little while, but we found some more diamonds. So, let's see, that's 1, that's 2. So now we have enough for a diamond pickaxe, but we've got 3, 4. That is enough for an enchanting setup as well. This is awesome. I didn't expect to find any diamonds, but it does mean that we can, once everything's done, make a diamond pickaxe and even make a enchanting setup, or at least the enchanting table. But right now, I just want to focus on my starter base. So I've been thinking, and I believe that right here is the perfect spot for it, as I want the path to basically follow along this and then cut along here and sort of go along down to there, because eventually I want up on that cliff over there, I want there to be a big castle, and I think it's going to be a fun project for the future, but today we're just focusing on the starter base. And now normally for something like this, I'd either just cut and jump to when it's done, or I would do a time lapse. But for this, I really want to walk y'all through sort of my build process. So let's get some cobble and start off. Let me grab this as well, just to be on the safe side. Now, when I start building, the first thing I want to do is figure out how big I want to be. And I'm just going to do a simple cobble outline, as this will help me figure out exactly where it needs to go, how big it needs to be, and figure out how I need to adjust the terrain. So I'm going to go ahead and tear this little chunk out right here. And I know I want this to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks long. And then I want it to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 wide. So let me count that again just to make sure. Or it actually made it 1 block too wide, counted as I was placing, not including that first one. That is something that will happen if you're not paying too much attention, so be sure to make sure everything is the right size. Measure twice, cut once, as the saying goes. Or measure twice, build once. And then just connect this up, and this will be the main part of the base, and we can step back, and I'll just use this dirt to scaffold up, and that looks like a pretty good location for it. It's far enough back that it's out of the way. We've got good space in front of it, a decent amount of space behind it, especially if we terraform the hill a bit, and a lot of space on both sides. So there's a lot of room to work with here. So I'm just going to take some dirt and just fill in this area a bit so we can actually build here without having to worry about holes like this. Alright, I did just some very basic terraforming, really just took out this little line that was right here and then filled in this big hole right here. And the only thing I really changed with the terrain too much is just adding this tiny little curve here. And now that I look at it, this needs to extend like that a bit. I will, whenever I get terraforming around the back here and then flattening this hill here, I'll talk about it in more depth. But generally just avoid straight lines and just try to make things fairly smooth. And they need to be, especially with sort of flatter ground like this, it needs to not have any too sudden changes. That can look a bit weird, but again, I'll talk about all that later. So we've got this main body of the house laid out. So the second thing we need to do is the entrance, because just a flat building, really, it looks boring. It's, you know, it works, and actually if this was diagonal, it really wouldn't be a problem for whatever reason when buildings are a diagonal. A wall that's like this does not look as flat as a wall that is like this, probably to do with because it goes like that, and it's got the whole zigzag kind of thing, but I'm not really qualified to speak on exactly why that is, but since this is a flat building, of course we need to add some more depth to it. Now, around back, this will be solved by adding a chimney in eventually, but around the front, we need to add just an entryway that juts out. So for that, I want to talk a bit about how to keep walls like this going when you get to a corner. Now, if the wall was going to continue out like this, I would keep going 2 out, sections of 2, to make sure this one continues the odd number along it, because the odd number is a lot better for centering things. But since that's not the case, what I'm wanting to do is have it be here. It can actually go out 3, so this appears as an odd number, but altogether, this is 7 plus 3, so this is actually 10, an even number length, but since they're not directly connected along here, it feels very different. And then, I want this one to be 5 as well, and then connect it back up, and we can just tear this out, and let's head back over to here, and see how this looks. And yeah, that is a pretty good outline for just a starter house. It looks small, sure, but it's going to be actually 3 stories, ground floor, a floor above it, and then a basement, which will probably have the entrance right here, but I'll deal with that when it is time. So with the outline done, we need to go and actually start building it. And so for that, I'm temporarily going to put my cobble back in here, and I am going to grab some oak logs, and need to start stacking these up. These are all going to be 4 high. Alright, all the exterior corners have the logs set up. You could put them here, but since this is basically just a part of this structure here that's just been cut out, I don't really see the need to do it. And then along these ones, since this chunk of the house does continue up further, I'm going to add this as a frame. Now, I would love to actually have it extend out a block, probably like this on either side, but since I don't have any spruce wood, that is a pickaxe, not an axe. Since I don't have any spruce wood, I can't actually make that a smooth transition, so it does not work as well. I'm just going to have that be like that. For now, this section might get cut out, but it will probably stay like that. I'm also going to take this out for the doorway. I considered having the doorway be too wide, but I think for the scale of this house, or more likely the size of this house, it's not going to work out quite as I hoped. So then I just take the cobble, and I'm going to fill this section in again. So now that we have all this cobble in place, it's time to texture it up a bit. And that is where this, frankly, ridiculous amount of tuff comes in. So I'm going to go and start taking this out. And this bottom layer is going to be almost entirely tuff, but there will be some cobble that is put back into it. And it's just basically a gradient from tough up to cobble. It's going to be a very small gradient, but it's going to add some texture to this build, and it's going to add some interest to it, so it's not just a flat wall of cobblestone. And then once you get some windows added in and everything, it's going to look even better. Now, if you have access to World Edit, you can make sort of the random patterns in here very easily. But without it, you kind of just have to eye it. So I'm just going to go and put in a few cobble in areas that I think should have them. And then I'm just going to fill the rest of it in with tuff, and then take a step back and see how that looks. And then just start building it up, making sure there is less tuff as it goes up. Alright, we got this all textured up. It's looking pretty good. I may come back in and touch it up a bit better, and a lot of the imperfections will be hidden once we add in, again, some windows, and I'll probably add some leaves and bushes and stuff around it, just, again, to cover up some of the imperfections in here. But for starters, this is a very good base for this. So what I'm going to do next is fill in the next layer up. And I'm going to just take that. And this is a fairly small layer up here. A lot of the height in it comes from the roof that's added on top of everything instead of the actual walls. So this design is really very simple. I just take the birch wood and strip it, and for those of y'all who may be new to the game, this is something you can do. It provides a different texture and really a different color for birchwood, but it does so really for all the different woods. It takes this inside color here and puts it really all around the tree. It's removing the bark of it, and especially for birchwood, it is really useful since I love this color, but this texture right here doesn't have many uses, especially for what I'm trying to do. So we've got the birch added in up top, and you can already see the house starting to come together a bit more. And sort of the lesson I want y'all to remember with this is just experiment with block palettes. We've got this at Church Grill, but stripped spruce and oak blend together perfectly. Just experiment with what blocks you have around you and how you can bring them together and what you can turn them into, because around here the only ones I have are oak and birch. And on their own, they may not look like much, but you can turn them into something beautiful if you just experiment a bit and figure out exactly how to do that. But for everything else in this space, we're going to need a stone cutter, which, me being the fool that I am, have not yet crafted. So for those of y'all who, again, are new to the game, the stone cutter is probably one of the best recent additions to the game as far as tools and utilities go, and I guess you claimed that as your job? That's actually not a terrible trade, but, what it does is it allows you to take these blocks and turn them into whatever version of them that you need. So that right there allowed us to get a single stair that we can use here to frame the doorway. But what I really need it for is all these stuff that will make up the roof. So I was talking about block palettes, and I found that deep slate, and then it's in this chest, and then granite blend together really well, especially polished deep slate. So I'm just going to go ahead and convert all those into stairs, and then I'm going to need a few slabs. Let me go ahead and show y'all what I'm doing here. This is a design I use for sort of framing roofs and then different layers on things a ton. A stair and then a slab work so well as just a little pattern that really does a nice job of framing stuff. But then, if we pillar up, I can keep this going all the way up and get a good little frame that I can then use in the rest of this. And then I'm just going to place that there. And then if we take the granite, it's in this chest again, and make some granite slabs. I think we need a few more. This might be a bit too many, but we can always use these in a future build, so don't worry about crafting too many of a resource. This is not too many, but if you craft too many, it's alright. You can always find a way to use them in the future. But I think this will still be slightly too few. Yeah, that's one too few, but if we step back, you can see what I'm doing with it. It's a palette that really works super well together. It might not be perfect for the biome, but I think it works pretty well, and it's going to look a lot better when we have the roof set up. So now we need to get the rest of the roof done, and for that I need a lot more deep slate. Taking a step back, you can see the frame put in place and the roof nearly done. All we need to do to finish the main sort of body of the building is to build up the stripped birch there and to get the granite in the rest of the roof. But you can really see as you start working on things and you stick with them, they really turn from something that did not look great at the start with just a cobble box framed with wood to something that starts to look pretty dang nice. So let that be sort of some encouragement to y'all to stick with your buildings even if you aren't feeling them right at the start. You can get to a point where you can realize, yeah, this is not what I need to do with this, but right off the bat, things are not going to look good. So stick with your builds, stick with your projects, and see where they go. Alright, so we have the basic design of the house done. This is, with the exception of the door, pretty much exactly what I have built in my test world. And so we are branching out into sort of unexplored territory with this build, and this is where I can really bring y'all in and share how I go about adding windows and different floor plans, and just how I go about fully detailing builds. And the first thing we need to do is, I keep opening the wrong chest, is to start adding in the floor. And as I'm thinking about it, I think what I want this floor to be is, let me get some light in here so we can actually see, and let me do the same upstairs. Alright, I think what I want this floor to be is some stripped oak. And I will put this down and see what it looks like in this section. If it looks not great, no, I'm liking that. I will try it on this whole thing, and the good thing about this is we can then take the stripped oak if we end up not liking it, and just turn it into planks that can then be used in all sorts of things, not just as planks themselves, but can be turned into pretty much any sort of item that you need wood for. So, very useful. It is completely fine if this ends up not being the best design. Alright, as I look at this is pretty good. I think these being a different direction works in sort of separating these two parts of the building. And then I think we need to add in basically the rest of this sort of granite roof here. So I'm going to get that done real quick just to hide that ugly top to it. But I'm actually going to do something I wouldn't normally do and bring these down one more so we can hide the birch. So we've just got the wooden beam showing in there, and that works perfectly at sort of framing this room as something completely separate. So the next thing is the floor above, and I think for this it's just going to be a standard oak planks. Now the staircase up is a different question. What material do we want to use for that? And normally I would use spruce to bring in just another color in here, but since we don't have any of that, it really requires some thought, and I think I'm just going to use oak again just because it's what we have access to, but I do wish we were able to use a different color and a different texture for it. And with that done, that is already the interior of this basically planned out, aside from exactly where you want to put anything. This is going to have separate rooms, so this is basically the interior all done, aside from the actual furniture and everything. Now the second thing we need to add is windows. Up here, I'm thinking 2 windows on each side, but I might do one super tall window. I'll try that one on each side and figure out which I like most. So that's the tall window right there, and then over on this side, we have the 2 windows, and I definitely prefer the 2 windows since you can much more easily see the planks above them, or the logs above them. So I'm going to fill this one back in and build that. So now I need to figure out windows down here, and I am considering one right here that sort of overlooks what will be the basement stairs and looks out this way, and I actually quite like that. I think that is a good location for it. Add something in here. I want one window right here. I want one window right here. And actually, let me make that 2 windows just to further add something to all this. I don't think I want anything here, and I don't think I want anything here since this is probably the better spot for the fireplace. In fact, let me punch this out to where you'll have the chimney go up. But I do think a window here will work. And of course, this is all down to experimentation once you get everything else in, but I think that is a good sort of original layout for all this. So for the fireplace, obviously we can't have an actual fire here since we don't have netherrack, and it would burn down the wooden parts of the house, but we can, if we get a coal and some sticks, we can craft up a campfire. In fact, I'm going to need 2 campfires so I can have some smoke coming out the top of it. So there's one right there, and as I look at that, we need... See, I think the best way to go about this is just to break that out. And let me put a tuff below that. And then I think a cobble stair right there will help sort of blend everything in. And actually do something a bit different. This right here, ignoring the pain of that, this will actually, if you look, you can... Well, if that would stop doing that, you can sort of see that hole there, so I think that will add a good sort of framing for it all. I ended up coming up with what I think is will you get out of the way? Come on. Thank you. I ended up coming up with what I think is a much better design for the fireplace. You can see it goes up like that. And then the fireplace is going to extend up through there, but also it's going to be outside. It's going to be a bit confusing to explain, and just you need to see it when it's done. But I think this works much better. We've also got the sort of framing it and the sort of safety grate. And I think this is a pretty good design, so now we just need to bring it into the rest of the build. Alrighty, after a lot of experimentation, I have the fireplace and chimney done. You can see it up there. Now, ideally, that would be spruce instead of oak, but oak is all I have to work with. And it's good enough. Around back, we have the chimney that juts out. It's not perfect, but I think it works. I might raise this up a tiny bit back here. And if we go inside, you can see this little fireplace I built. This is my own design, though it is inspired by a few I saw online, and I think it came out quite nice. You can see it sort of vanishes up in there, sort of, not quite, but again, I think it works out quite nicely. And then if we go upstairs, you can see it just continues up like this, which just does a good job of breaking up the interior in here a bit. Down here we have, of course, fireplace, and we have the staircase. Up here we have the chimney that continues up, so it all works out pretty nicely. Now, the next thing I need to get to really get the building completed are the windows and then the entrance to the basement. But, of course, I need to actually build the basement and build an interior and get some detailing done around this as well, though some of that stuff will probably be done off-camera because there's not as much to sort of walk through with it. It's just a lot of tedious experimentation stuff, kind of like the chimney was. But I will go gather some sand and build the windows, and then we will talk about building and designing the entrance to the basement right here. So I got the windows added in. I opted for white stained glass panes to give it just more of just a light feel to it. I also tried adding a window here to break up this large section up top, and it doesn't quite work and makes it look a bit sus, shall we say. But we'll figure out what needs to go there eventually. Also added in a door, just to actually have this place not be able to have mobs just walk in immediately. Also, I went caving, and I got a few more diamonds. I also got this spider's head, which reminded me that I need to tell y'all about the data packs we have in this world. So I have the player head drops. I can actually shoot an arrow up, and I can hit myself and get my head that way if I want to put it in. Wandering Trades, this is the one that has the Hermitcraft members' heads as well, so I can get some good decorations and populate the world a bit. Silence Mobs, good for farms and everything. Anti-Enderman Grief, because that is about the most annoying part of the game for me. Armor statues, again for decoration, and mob heads, again for decoration. And all of those come from vanilla tweaks, so you can get them very easily. But what we need to do now is there are really 2 things left to do with the house. The first is to get the basement entrance done, which I will do on camera with y'all. And then I need to get just some basic detailing done around the house. Plants, and get a bit of a path and everything around here and get some, maybe a small little farm right around here or something, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. For now, we need to get the basement entrance. So I think down to about here should work. And this will, of course, be edited a bit once we keep getting everything going. But I think these being stairs will work out quite nicely. And I think I want these stairs to be polished andesite. I'm not entirely sure how this will work, as I am basically designing this with y'all, but it should be passable, at least for now. I might end up changing this as we go along. But this is the part I love about building, is just experimenting and finding out designs that work and designs that don't, and figuring out what I actually want to do with all of this. So with this staircase down, of course, I need to figure out how everything else needs to go, and I think this wall will just be tough going down. I think that will, maybe a couple pieces of cobble scattered in as well. I think that will make the transition down work out a lot better, and I think I'm going to have that and that be cobblestone and everything else be tough. And yeah, that's looking good. That brings the transition down into this area, sort of finalizes it. And then I want all of this to be part of the entrance. So I think this will be cobble, this will be tough, and then these two will be cobblestone stairs. So let's get those crafted up real quick. And this right here will essentially be the entrance into the basement. I think these need to be tough right here. And then this, I think I want this to be stone brick, so I will have to smelt up some stone for that, so it's going to take a little while, but I think that will be about the best design we can have, with then some rails going along here. So with 16 stone brick smelted up, the perfect amount to fill this out, we can start digging this out and filling it in, and this will get us this wall along here done. Next episode, or perhaps even between episodes, I'll get the basement figured out along with the interior of this house, but the exterior does need to be finished up, at least for the thumbnail of the video. Now, since this area is looking not great with this transition, we need to get the terraforming around here finalized a bit. And again, I'm not going to go too in-depth in my methods with this, it's just filling it out and making sure it looks good. And mostly right now, I'm not trying to get the final terrain done, I'm just trying to cover up this subpar transition between everything. But with that done, that's basically the entrance to the basement done. We'll need to actually make the basement, but we'll just need to get the floor done. But from the outside, if we tear these down from the outside, that's looking pretty good. It actually makes the house look a lot more final. Just this bit right here, it adds a lot more to it that I didn't actually expect, but it makes it feel larger and it makes it feel more finalized. So with everything else we need to do, we need to get basically some ground in front of it. I'm probably going to have it go from about here, curve around, and then go to about here. That's probably going to be coarse dirt. And then we need some farms and some leaves around it. Now, I have way more coarse dirt than I actually need for this, with 2 and nearly a half stacks. But it gives plenty to get this sort of project finished up. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of randomly dig out some dirt and fill it in and just refine the shape as I go along. Y'all don't really need to see what I'm doing here. Y'all just need to know that this is how I do it. I just kind of dig out chunks, and then I'm going to take a step back and look at it. And if it looks good, I'm going to stick with it. If not, I'm going to refine it. But stepping back and misplacing some blocks as always, that seems to be a pretty good size for starters. Eventually this will connect up to the path. It'll go along here. Actually, this will probably be bulked up, so it'll go more like that. And we'll connect up to some other stuff around here. But for starters, that is a good chunk of dirt in front of that. So I'm going to cut until I've got this finished up, but I have a few more small little details around here. And then I'll talk about whatever else it is that comes next. My man's really recreating the Blair Witch Project right here. You good, my guy? Anyways, I got this cleaned up a little bit, added in some paths just because I think it looks nice. I'll probably adjust this a bit more as time goes along, but for starters, I think it's pretty good. Now, there are a few more things I want to get done around here. The first is I want to get some farms added in, and the first thing that I think would be nice is I found these pumpkins somewhere around here earlier in the world, and I think just right here, a tiny little pumpkin patch would look nice. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I do need to adjust the placement of these a bit, but yeah, something like that looks pretty good. But I don't think this is the build for it. I think it needs to be something larger in scale, and it needs to have more context. But what I do want to have is a small little potato farm, since I found those early in the world. So I'm just going to put one right here, place some tuff here, and I have 15, so I can do something like this, and bring it all the way along to the edge, and that is too straight right there, so let's try this, see how it looks, and I have a few too many, but I do have some bones on me, so you can grow up a few more and get the farm finished up. And that is perfect. And I think that'll do good for just a nice little detail along the sides, so for the rest of it, I need to add in some leaves, and these are a good detail to just add some detail around any build that is lacking a bit. They really connect it to the nature around it, and add a bit of depth into everything as well. So if you try to make your builds fit into the environment a bit more, I will always recommend adding in some leaves. And we can't really put any right here, but we can have some leaves bordering this. I think that will look nice. Let me get a few right here as well. And that right there with the leaves is doing pretty much exactly what I want to do with this build. So this is probably about the best start to this world that I can think of. I think I need to add something on here, maybe some vines going up when we get them or something, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. But what we have right here is perfect. In fact, let me add one last thing right there. I think that looks really good. Add some, actually it might work better as some flowers. So yeah, let me find some flowers real quick. Alright, I did some experimenting, and I think this right here with 2 rose bushes and a piece of grass is exactly what we need. I also adjusted the leaves I had over here a bit. This fills in this chunk of the wall a bit, and I might bring in another one to cover this up, and then extend this up a bit, but we'll get to that probably in the next episode. This right here is about the perfect start to this world. I just wish we had some spruce, but I am super excited with what we have so far. I cannot wait for this series to progress further. So if y'all want to see more of this, let me know down in the comments. Thank you for interrupting the outro, my guy. If y'all want to get rid of these on golems, if y'all liked what you saw, like the video, subscribe if you want to see more stuff, comment down below with what you want to see in this series, what you're excited for me to get started on. I've got a few big plans that I'm really looking forward to getting to eventually. But this is a small start, but it is going to extend into something pretty dang cool. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll be seeing ya.